there are two Virginias, and they don't share a price tag. One is up north near the capital, where a small townhouse can run past $500,000, and the traffic is stacked up before the coffee's cold. The other is down in the southwest corner, Appalachian ridges, wooded acreage, and property tax bills that in a couple of these counties come in under $400 a year. Same state, almost a different century. Virginia doesn't tax your Social Security. It's split into 95 counties and 38 independent cities, and most of the low numbers hide in the mountains nobody's driving to. I went looking and I found 10 homes with land, from $139,995 at the top down to $34,700 at the very bottom. I spent more than 20 years pricing houses for other people. Now I go find the ones I'd have kept for myself. 2 of these stopped me cold. The 6th one is actually 2 houses on a single deed, and the last one costs less than a used car. Subscribe to Real Estate Hunter USA, so these land in front of you first. Look at this one from the air, and the 11 acres do exactly what the listing promises. White metal roof throwing back the light. Wooded hillside rising behind the house. The sort of frame you'd pay a photographer for. Then your eye drifts up the far ridge and lands on an active surface mine cut into the hillside. This is coal country, and the photos don't dress it up. For a hunting camp or a rental, it barely registers. If you came for an untouched postcard, walk the porch first and decide for yourself. Because the porches are the point here. A covered one runs across the front, another off the back, and from either one the morning fog burns off the hills before the heat finds you. The obvious place to end up with coffee, and no reason at all to move. Inside, the kitchen is a surprise. The listing calls it recently remodeled, and where it counts, that's fair. New bamboo floors, hickory cabinets, fresh mechanicals, new roof, new HVAC, new windows. The ruffled valances are doing their own quieter kind of time travel, but those come off in an afternoon. It's a real cook's kitchen, wrapping a corner sink under 2 windows, close enough to the primary bedroom that you could start the coffee before you're fully awake. That bedroom opens straight to the backyard. Screen door, morning air, the 11 acres right there. The rest of the house keeps its work quiet. 2 more bedrooms, a mudroom off the side, an attic with pull-down stairs and real storage. Head down to the walkout basement, and it turns plain, block walls, exposed ductwork, the second bath and the laundry tucked down where the finish stops. A compound bow still hangs on the pegboard by the freezer, which tells you what those wooded acres out back have been doing for years. Hunting, ATVs, and the kind of quiet where the loudest thing by mid-afternoon is the wind. The land itself is sloped and wooded, ideal for exactly that. And the location does more than you'd guess for a place that's tucked away. 6 miles from town, 8 to Pound Lake, and a string of trailheads and parks inside a half hour, from Birch Knob's observation tower to Breaks Interstate Park. Now the number. In Clintwood, the typical home sits right around $100,000, and at $139,995, this one asks a little more. But you're not buying a bare median house. You're buying 11 mountain acres, a renovated kitchen, and a roof and system somebody already paid to replace. For the buyer who wanted land first, that reads as an easy trade. The next house doubles the acreage and comes fully furnished if you want it, for $30,000 less. The blacktop drive climbs the hill to a white house wearing a long raised deck like a wraparound, tucked so far into the tree line that by June the woods have closing green on 3 sides. Roughly 13.5 acres of that. Countryside and forest views, the listing isn't exaggerating, because the deck runs the full length of the house and looks straight into the canopy. It's the spot you'd end up on a wet summer morning, coffee going cold, watching the green drip off the leaves. Step inside, and the kitchen leans into its age instead of hiding it. Knotty pine walls hung with cast iron skillets, an old white standalone cabinet that's outlived a few owners, even a black retro fridge playing along. Cook here on a fall evening, and the whole room reads like somebody's grandmother's, in the way people pay good money to fake. The floor is a new laminate throughout, which matters more than it sounds, because the bones under all that character got redone in 2019. New wiring, new roof, new PX plumbing, a new well pump and pressure tank. The charm is old on purpose. The guts are not. The living and dining space opens up in sage green with a mini split on the wall, doing the heating and cooling. Big windows pulling the deck's view back indoors. An antique bench, ladder-back chairs, It already feels lived in. The primary bedroom sits on the main floor, small and calm, an iron bed under a patchwork quilt with the trees filling every window. The single bath has been brought up to date. Clean gray vanity, a triple mirror cabinet, an open shelf. Nothing you'd need touch. There's a separate laundry room, a storage building out back for the overflow, and one honest note worth saying plainly. Cooling here leans on that wall unit, and a portable in the corner, not central air. On 13-plus acres wrapped in woodland with wildlife for neighbors, that's a detail you factor in rather than flinch at. Here's where the value lives. This is a one house where I can't hand you a town median to compare against. The data just isn't there for a place this small. So read it on what's in front of you. Nearly 13 and a half wooded acres, a full mechanical overhaul 4 years back, a roof and a well you won't be replacing, and a home that can come fully furnished if you want to skip the moving truck. The tax bill lands around $400 a year. For $110,000, you're buying land and peace of mind at once, and letting the paneling stay exactly as charming as it is. The next one goes to auction. 15 acres, a creek, and a starting bid under $100,000. From the air, the 15 acres read like a clearing somebody carved out of woods and then mostly left alone. Mowed paths loop off into the tree line. A fence flat of yard sits by the house, and past all but the green hills stack up toward a blue ridge in the distance. There's a creek down in the bottom, too. The listing says, water you'd hear before you saw it on a still morning, and a house that stood here since 1930, waiting on somebody with a plan. Let me be straight about that house, because the listing already is. It's a fixer, and it needs work. The photos back it up. Checkerboard tile in nearly every room, a stained brick fireplace, kitchen cabinets that have taken on water. But the bones are all there, and they're better than the price suggests. A big square living room, a genuinely large kitchen, not the token galley you brace for at this number. And off the back, a wood-paneled sunroom with French doors onto the deck. A room that already pulls in more afternoon light than most finished spaces manage. The one place you'd sit with the doors open once the work is done. The layout is the selling point. 4 bedrooms and 2 baths across a 2,106 square foot main level, all on one floor, with covered porches on both sides. Underneath is another 1,461 square feet of unfinished basement. Red painted stairs down to a half-done rec space up top, and a raw utility room below with a sump pump, a laundry sink, and the old water heater. A lot of room to grow into for somebody willing to earn it. The systems are rural and simple. Oil heat, that fireplace, spring water, a septic tank. 2 things the listing puts right on the table, and so will I. It's an auction. The list price is a starting bid, not a final number, and the clock runs out on the 7th of August. And there's a 50-foot pipeline easement crossing the property, the Mountain Valley line. Neither is a deal breaker for the right buyer. They're just the reasons a place with 15 acres and a creek is priced where it is. Location is the quiet win. You're 20 minutes from Roanoke, 30 from Floyd, and 5 minutes from a Blue Ridge Parkway access. Real convenience for land that feels this far out. The elementary school down the way even carries an A- rating, which isn't nothing when you're weighing a fixer for family. Watch the number, $91,000 as an opening bid. The lowest cost per foot on this list so far, and on 15 well-laying acres with a creek and a mountain view, the math pulls investors and renovators, not move-in buyers. Bring your skills, not your couch. The next house trades the auction drama for a straight price and 12 acres of homestead ground. Stand on the covered porch of this one in early spring, before the leaves come back, and the southwest Virginia ridges just keep stacking up past the tree line, hazy blue where they meet the sky. The air still sharp with early spring. The long view you stop noticing you're paying for. Right up until morning you don't have any more. It's a single-level ranch, cream siding under a dark metal roof, sitting up in a mowed clearing on 12 acres with a beaten-in drive and satellite dishes that tell you people live their whole ordinary lives here. The listing doesn't sugarcoat the inside, and neither will I. Fixer, below average condition, bring your skills, call it the pitch, and the photos deliver it. The kitchen's half pulled apart. PX water line still hanging out of the wall where a cabinet used to be. A drywall panel sags off the living room ceiling. 1 bedroom's painted red somebody didn't finish. The bottom half still in primer. This is not a place you unpack into next weekend. But look at what's under the mess. Knotty pine on the walls, real hardwood underfoot, rooms full of light on a floor plan that flows the way older houses do. The basement's raw, block walls, exposed ductwork, hanging plastic. But it's dry space you can finish on your own clock. And there's an old board shed out back, paint long gone, roof still holding and smelling of old timber. Not much on its own, but exactly the kind of thing you gut and rebuild first when 12 acres of farming, livestock, and garden ground is the whole reason you're here. That's how the listing frames it too, a place to become self-sufficient, to lay down roots or start a homestead, and the setting earns the pitch. This is Clintwood, coal and timber country in the deep southwest of the state, and it carries a distinction none of the other towns on this list can touch. A property crime score 5 out of 100, where the national average sits around 35. Not a rounding difference. It's the kind of quiet where you genuinely forget to lock the door. Now the money. The typical Clintwood home hovers right around $79,000, and after a $13,000 cut, this one sits at $90,000, a touch above the town median. But the median doesn't come with 12 acres and a shed and a homestead worth of room. You're not overpaying for the house. You're buying the land the house happens to sit on and taking the renovation as the price of admission. It works for the buyer who wants to build a place rather than move into it. Sweat first, equity after. If that's not you, the next one might be, because you could sleep in it tonight and it sits on a pond. The next house is a rambler with 3.5 acres, and nothing you'd have to fix first. The land opens up flat and green around this one. 3.5 acres of room. The tree line holding the far edge, and no neighbor close enough to wave at. It's the kind of yard where by late afternoon the loudest thing going is the weather rolling in over the ridge, and the light goes long and gold across the grass before it quits. The listing puts a pond on the property, and while I couldn't pin it down in the photos, the setting is exactly what you'd picture around one. Open pasture, scattered trees, a rambler sitting quiet in the middle of it, somewhere you'd walk the fence line with a coffee just to see what the morning light turned up out there. Here's what makes this one different from most of the list. You could actually sleep here tonight. It's move-in ready. Not renovated, not staged, but clean and whole. Laminate wood-look floors running room to room. Fresh paint. A fanlight door at the entry. Everything sound. The kitchen's a bright eat-in space with white cabinets and a new stainless microwave. The one room where a weekend of your own taste would pay off most. The bath is simple and working. A tub shower, a wall exhaust fan, an antique vanity someone actually liked. 3 bedrooms on a single level, laminate underfoot, green filling the windows. That's the whole pitch, and it's an honest one. A house that lets you unpack now and improve on your own schedule instead of contractors. Heat pump for the winters. Cooling available for the summers, a well and a septic size of the house. Nothing here is asking for a loan before you can live in it. Now, the part that makes it click. This is Patrick County, and the typical home in Patrick Springs is about $130,000. This one asks $85,000, roughly a third under that median, and it comes with 3.5 acres and upon the pricier houses in town don't. The tax bill lands near $350 a year, about the lowest on this whole list. And the area itself is easy living, a low crime score, well under national average, with Danville and Greensboro both close enough for the days you need city. For a first home, a weekend place, or a landing spot while you build something bigger. This is the rare one you don't have to fix first. Land, privacy, a pond, and a number a third below what the town says a house should cost. Properties like this quietly get harder to find with every passing year. The next house is a different animal entirely. For $65,000, you don't get one house. You get 2. The listing says 2 for the price of 1, and it means it. Up top sits the main house. White siding, a red metal roof, and a long red boardwalk running out to a lattice-skirted deck. A walk you take slow on a summer evening with the porch light on. Lower on the lot sits a second little house. Its own roof, its own walls. One's a 2-bedroom, one's a 3-bedroom, and $65,000 buys both of them plus the level ground they share. That ground is worth a look on its own. It runs long and mostly flat out the back, with the bones of an old garden plot already fenced off up the slope. The sort of plot that greens up fast come spring if somebody works it, and cleared space around it. And here's the part that sets this apart from nearly everything else on the list. You're not 40 minutes from anywhere. You're within walking distance of the hospital and minutes from a grocery store, right inside Clintwood instead of out past the last paved road. Now, both houses are sold exactly as they sit, as is unfinished, and the photos don't pretend otherwise. Inside, you'll find dark knotty pine paneling, wood look laminate, a window unit pulled out and leaning against the wall mid-project. The second structure is rawer still. A water heater standing out in the open where the kitchen should be, cabinets pulled, one bedroom stripped clear down to the plywood subfloor. There's a whiteboard grocery list still stuck to a fridge, ketchup, popsicles, bread, the kind of small human leftover that reminds you somebody's whole life ran through these rooms. So this isn't a place you move into. It's a place a flipper or a landlord takes two structures at one price and turns into two finished units, or two rent checks. 5 bedrooms of raw material across the pair, ranch and farmhouse construction, metal roofing, a cleared acre, and a location renters actually want because it's close to work and close to town. The number frames the whole thing. In Clintwood, the typical single home goes for right around $100,000, and here 65 buys 2 of them, rough unfinished, but 2. Run it as one project, and the math is simple. Your cost per door is cut in half before you've swung a hammer. Run it as a live-in one, rent the other play. And the second house helps pay for the first. It's an investor's house through and through, and it's priced like one. If you came looking for a home to love rather than a spreadsheet to fill, the next one leans back that way. 4 bedrooms, a fireplace, and the biggest price cut on the entire list. The next house dropped $35,000, and it comes with a workshop. Start with a number that got my attention. This house has come down $35,000, the steepest cut on the whole list, and it's landed at $64,900. That's a bank-owned price on a 4-bedroom house with an acre and 2 garage buildings. So let me walk you through what the drop actually buys. The house sits up on its own rise, a raised ranch with a rust-red metal roof and a brick chimney, and even overgrown and empty the back of the lot view carries it. Western Virginia ridge is laid out flat behind the house, going blue and even the way they do out here, the part no renovation budget ever has to touch. Inside, the character survived the vacancy better than you'd expect. A brick hearth with a cast ironwood stove tucked into it anchors the living room. Light that stove on a cold night, and it'll throw heat into the whole floor while the windows go dark. And the doorways beside it curve into arches, small 1970s touches that give the place more warmth than a foreclosure usually keeps. For bedrooms sit on the main level over real hardwood floors. The bath still wearing an original mint green tile, dated but sound. It wants cosmetics, rag-painted walls, a tired kitchen, but the structure reads solid. The real prize is out back, and it's worth being plain about. A detached block workshop, 2 bays wide, with its own separate entrance. Genuine room to actually work, on top of the garage attached under the house. The catch: the workshop's roof is half gone. Ivy has found its way inside, and it'll take real money before it shelters anything again. For a buyer who wanted to shop in a 4-bedroom house on an acre for under $65,000. That's the trade you're weighing. A great bone structure that needs a roof, not a teardown. The setting is old Appalachian, Virginia, a small town of around 5,000 with iron furnace and railroad history in its bones, cradled by mountains and close enough to Roanoke, Lexington, and Lewisburg to reach a city when you need one. Natural gas heat, a full unfinished basement, a fenced yard, and a covered back porch rounded out. On price, the typical home in town comes in around $74,000, and this 4-bedroom with its acre and its outbuildings comes in below that. Bank-owned and cut hard. The math rewards a buyer with a little vision and a little roofing budget. More house, more land, and more workshop than the number should allow, in exchange for taking on the work the bank didn't want. If a shop in 4 bedrooms for foreclosure money is your kind of project, this one earns a hard look. The next house did most of the hard work already. It's roughly 80% renovated, with a valley view thrown in. The address on this one is Ely Town Road, and the drive up to it is a steep crack of asphalt that climbs the hill to a little bungalow tucked into the trees. Make that climb and the payoff shows up fast. From up top, the land drops away into a deep green fold of mountain. The view that's the whole reason you put up with the grade come January, and one that turns gold and rust every October, whether anybody's watching or not. Here's what makes this house read differently from the fixers earlier on the list. Somebody already did the hard part. The listing calls it extensively remodeled about 4 years back. New siding, new wiring, new plumbing, new windows. And you can see where the money went. Fresh wood-look flooring runs through it. There's new granite look counter and a new stainless faucet over a double sink, new doors, new glass. It's the expensive, invisible 80% of a renovation already behind you. What's left is the visible 20. And the photos are upfront about it. There's a doorway patched over in raw plywood, a couple of cabinets pulled off the wall, a bathroom sitting half-painted blue. The 2 brick fireplace fronts are decorative now, more character than heat. And the one reel to do the listing names outright. It still needs a central heating system. So the trade is clear. You're buying somebody else's finished framing, wiring, and windows, and picking up the cosmetic tail end at your own pace. Inside, it's bright and simple. Peach and yellow walls, an open kitchen and living flow. Ceiling fans turning slow, an enclosed porch off the back where you'd ride out a rainstorm with a mountain right in front of you. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1,200 square feet on a level acre. Public water at the tap. A small house that's been treated well and left almost across the finish line. The value is easy to read. The typical home in Dryden runs around $86,000, and this one asks $62,500, better than 20 grand under that median, with the price and mechanical work already paid for. It sits in Lee County, a quiet corner where the crime score comes in comfortably under the national average, close to schools in town, but wrapped in that mountain view. For a buyer who wants a project measured in weekends instead of years, this is a sweet spot. Cheap enough to be a deal, finished enough to move the timeline in months, not seasons. Call it the 80% house. Somebody spent the hard money. You spend the easy time. The next house is the widest gap on the list between price and what the town says a home is worth, and it hides a surprise under a plain little roof. This one's the widest gap on the list between the asking price and what the town says a house is worth, so it earns a closer look than its size suggests. It's a little chalet-style cabin, and it sits in a flat pocket of mature hardwoods, the sort of shaded acre whereby mid some of the canopy is closed and overhead, and the yard stays 10 degrees cooler than the road while everything past the tree line bakes. A metal storage building waits out back. The whole place feels a good deal further from town than it actually is, the sort of deep quiet you drive out to on purpose. I'll give you the hard part first, because the listing does. It's sold as is, the power is off, and it needs repairs. This is a project, full stop, but one room saves it from being only that. Step into the main living space, and there's a white-painted log beam ceiling running the length of it, knotty pine walls, a fresh dark floor underfoot, and a mini split on the wall. Stand in that room toward dusk, with the light coming low through the trees, and you can already see the weekend place it wants to become. The real cabin hiding inside the fixer. The rest follows that mixed story plainly. The kitchen's got teal walls, torch pine cabinets with genuine character, new granite look counter, and a flagstone pattern floor under a vaulted ceiling. Good bones. Real work needed. The bath's already been updated with a clean fiberglass tub and a white vanity. The bedrooms are teal and cream, one wall water-stained. A sheet of drywall leaning where it hasn't gone up yet. It's uneven, and at this price it's supposed to be. Now the money, because it's a headline. This is Danville, where the typical home sits around $115,000. This cabin asks $48,000, less than half of that median, the widest value gap on the entire list. And I'll be square about the reason it runs this wide. Danville is the one place here where the numbers ask you to look twice. Its property crime score sits above the national average, not below it, and that's part of what keeps prices soft. For a weekend cabin, a rental, or flip, that weighs less than it would for a full-time family home. But you factor in with open eyes. What you're buying is a genuine cabin with a standout room on a wooded acre, minutes from the Danville bypass, and everything a small city carries, at a number that's hard to argue with. Bring cash in a plan. This is investor and renovator territory, and price to prove it. The last house is the cheapest on the list, and from the road, you'd never guess it. And now we're at the last house, the cheapest on the whole list, and the one that hides it best. From the road, you'd never call the number. White siding, a covered porch behind an iron security door, a shingle roof that still looks like it's doing its job, all perched up on a black-painted block foundation with the mountains showing past the tree line. Sit on that porch on a clear morning, and the view alone reads like a house worth more than this one costs. $34,700. Look at the outside and you guess 2 or 3 times that. The catch waits inside, and the listing lays it out plainly. It's a fixer, it needs a new septic system, and it's cash buyers only. Step in, and it's a 1970s time capsule. Knotty pine paneling on nearly every wall. Shag carpet in 3 different colors. A window air conditioner humming in each room. Baseboard heat running along the trim. The kitchen's got ivy print wallpaper, dated with cabinets, a standalone fridge, a single sink over tan vinyl. The bathroom's a standard tub and toilet with a winterized tag on it, which tells you the water's already been shut off and drained down. But here's the thing about a time capsule. The paneling and the shag are a weekend and a dumpster, not a structural problem. Picture a Saturday with the windows open and a pry bar in hand. Pull the paneling, tear up the carpet, and by Sunday night you're looking at a plain, workable box with good light and mountain views. The shell is sound. The roof looks recent. There's a big concrete basement underneath, and 3 bedrooms over 864 square feet is real, usable space. The septic is a one-line item that needs real money. And the cash only, sold as is terms, are the listing telling you exactly what kind of buyer it's built for. Put the number in context, and it lands. The typical Clintwood home runs right around $100,000, and this one asks a third of that. The lowest price on the list, and at $40 a square foot, the lowest cost per foot too. Not a typo and not a trick. It's a small, dated, no-frills fixer in a mountain town. Price for somebody with cash, a little vision, and a free weekend to start pulling paneling. For a first project, a rental to build up, or just the cheapest way onto this whole list. It's exactly what it looks like once you get past the front door, and the front door was hiding a real deal. When the number on the sign runs as far under the number in your head, you slow down and look twice. This one holds up? That's the list. Let me pull it back together. That was Virginia. 10 homes with land. From $139,995 at the top down to $34,700 at the bottom. Every one of them sits in a half of the state. Nobody puts on a postcard. And every one is priced like it. Think back through a few. The 11 wooded acres with a coal mine on the far ridge and a compound bow still hanging in the basement. The knotty pine kitchen up its blacktop drive, cast iron skills on the wall, and the guts quietly redone underneath. The little cabin with the log beam ceiling that saved it, sitting on a shaded acre for less than half what its town says a house should cost. And the ranch on 12 acres in the county with the lowest crime score I've come across in a long while, 5 out of 100, in a place you forget to lock the door. I've read enough listings over the years to know when a number's genuinely off, and a handful of these are, not all of them. The fixers want your sweat, the auction wants your nerve, and one asks you to look twice at the crime map before you fall for the price. But the deals are real, and they're the kind that don't sit long once people find them. 2 are worth circling before you close the tab. The 6th house is 2 houses on one deed, a whole investment play at a single price. And the last one, the cheapest on the list, hides a real deal behind a front door that gives nothing away. Take a second look at both. Every address, price, and detail is down in the description, listing by listing. And if you want the next state's worth of these before the crowd does, subscribe to Real Estate Hunter USA. I go through hundreds of listings, so you don't have to. See you on the next one.